When people want you gone, they don't always come out and say it. They don't wave a flag or announce their intentions. Instead, they chip away at your sense of worth, your belonging, and your place in their world. The most dangerous part is that these behaviors can be so subtle you start questioning yourself before you question them. Today, I want to name these behaviors because when you name them, you strip them of their power. When someone wants you gone, the very first thing they do is not dramatic. It's not a fight. It's not an explosion. It's not even words. It's absence. They withdraw their presence in quiet ways that make you question yourself before you ever question them. It starts with little things. They don't call as often. Texts that once felt warm and full of connection now arrive with clipped words or sometimes don't arrive at all. Invitations to share moments together grow sparse. You find yourself replaying interactions, asking, did I do something wrong? Did I miss something? The withdrawal is not about space. It's about signaling distance. It's about making you feel the emptiness of their absence without giving you clarity about why. And the hardest part is that silence doesn't give answers. It only gives room for your own self-doubt to grow louder. Think about it. When someone pulls back without explanation, most of us don't get angry first. We get insecure. We start scanning our own behavior. Maybe I said something off. Maybe I was too much. Maybe I should have done more. That's the cruel brilliance of withdrawal. It puts the burden of interpretation on you. You become both the detective and the accused. And here's the truth that's difficult to swallow. Presence is love's currency. Attention, consistency, and showing up are how people tell us we matter. When that presence is removed, it's not neutral. It's an active decision. Even if it's silent, it screams, I don't choose you anymore. Let me say this clearly. You are not crazy for noticing someone's absence. You are not needy for feeling the shift in their energy. Human beings are wired for connection. We know when the people we care about stop showing up for us. We know when the chair that used to be filled is now empty. So when people withdraw their presence, don't interpret it as your failure. See it for what it is, a signal of their choice, not proof of your unworthiness. Because presence is not about being in the same room. It's about showing up in heart, in effort, in care. If someone takes that away, it says far more about their capacity to love than it does about your capacity to deserve it. When people want you gone, one of the clearest signs is when they start to devalue your voice. And I don't just mean they disagree with you. That's normal in any healthy relationship. I mean they stop hearing you. In the beginning, maybe your words mattered. Your ideas sparked conversations. Your feelings were considered. Your opinions carried weight in decisions. But then something shifts. Suddenly, what you say seems to bounce off walls instead of sinking in. Your suggestions are dismissed. Your stories are met with indifference. Your feelings are minimized with phrases like, you're overreacting, or it's not a big deal. And here's the subtle cruelty. When someone devalues your voice, it's not just about what they're doing in the moment. It's about making you doubt your own truth. If you speak up and they ignore it, you start to wonder, maybe what I feel doesn't matter. Maybe I should just keep quiet. Over time, you shrink, you edit yourself, you silence parts of who you are just to avoid the ache of being disregarded. I want to pause here and say this. Your voice is sacred. It carries not just words, but your story, your identity, your truth. When people devalue it, they're not just dismissing noise, they're dismissing you. There's also another layer. Sometimes this dismissal is strategic. When people want you gone, they often stop, engage it. When people want you gone, they don't always slam the door shut. Sometimes they simply build walls you can't see, but you can feel. You know it's happening when conversations that used to be open and flowing suddenly feel guarded. They answer with short replies, they keep their emotions locked tight, and they stop letting you in on the little details of their life. What used to feel like an open window into their world now feels like a wall of glass. You can see them, but you can't reach them. This is one of the most confusing experiences because the person is still there. They may sit across from you, smile at the right moments, even say all the polite things. But deep down, you know there's distance. Emotional intimacy, which once held you close, begins to vanish. It's like being in the same room but on opposite planets. The danger of invisible walls is that they make you question reality. You start wondering, am I imagining this? Did I do something to cause this shift? Why do I feel further away even when we're standing side by side? These are the questions people ask when they sense disconnection but can't see the bricks being stacked. And here's the painful truth. Walls are easier to build than bridges. When someone no longer wants you in their life, they don't always say it out loud. They simply stop letting you in. They protect their inner world from you, not to preserve the relationship, but to quietly dismantle it. But let me pause here and say this. Invisible walls are not always about your worth. Sometimes they are about another person's fear of vulnerability, their inability to face truth, or their resistance to honesty. When people want you gone, instead of giving you clarity, they build distance, because distance doesn't require accountability. Yet, for the person on the other side, it feels like rejection wrapped in politeness. You're left knocking. G on doors that don't open, waiting for conversations that never arrive, trying to scale walls that were never meant to let you in. And that is exhausting. So if you've ever felt someone's invisible walls rising between you, know this: it's not weakness to notice it. It's not neediness to want closeness. It's simply human. And recognizing the wall is the first step to reclaiming your own power. Because once you see it for what it is, a deliberate barrier, you stop blaming yourself for not being able to break through. One of the most painful things people do when they want you gone is that they rewrite the story of your relationship. And I don't mean the story changes because you both grow and evolve. That's natural. I mean they deliberately edit the past, turning shared memories into something different, something smaller, something that makes you feel like what you lived through together wasn't real at all. It usually starts subtly, the joyful moments you remember vividly, laughter in the car, nights when you stayed up talking about dreams, moments of deep connection, suddenly disappear from their narrative. They don't mention them anymore. Or worse, they reinterpret them as meaningless. What was once special to you now sounds, in their words, like something trivial, accidental, or forgettable. Then it deepens. The times you struggled together or the seasons when you carried each other are reframed as evidence of your flaws. Instead of remembering how you showed up for them, they remember how you fell short. Instead of recalling the way you tried, they highlight the times you failed. Slowly, they erase the good and inflate the bad until the entire story feels distorted. This tactic is devastating because it makes you question your own memory. You wonder, did I imagine how good it was? Was I the only one who felt those moments? Was I blind to the truth the whole time? And when you begin doubting your own story, you start doubting your own heart. That's the cruelest part. Rewriting the story doesn't just erase the past, it destabilizes your present, but lie. When people want you gone, they often don't push you away with open cruelty. That would be too obvious. Instead, they do something far more calculated. They spread subtle poison. This doesn't always look like dramatic lies or public attacks. Sometimes it's much smaller, almost invisible at first. It shows up in the way they drop hints in conversations with others, planting little seeds of doubt about you. It shows up in the half-truths they tell, where they carefully emphasize your mistakes but conveniently erase your efforts. It shows up when they smirk or roll their eyes at your name, sending a silent message that you're not worthy of respect. The poison is slow. It's not meant to destroy you in one blow. It's meant to erode trust over time. By the time you realize what's happening, you might notice people treating you differently. Friends grow distant, colleagues look at you with suspicion, and suddenly you're left wondering what changed. But the truth is, nothing about you changed. The environment was poisoned behind your back. And the cruelty of subtle poison is this: it attacks what you cannot defend. If someone lies openly, you can confront it. But if someone whispers a half-truth, hints at something vague, or plants quiet doubt, you often don't even know what to defend yourself against. You just feel the consequences. Relationships shifting, trust evaporating, opportunities slipping away. This tactic is designed to isolate you. Because here's the thing. When people want you gone, it's not enough for them to walk away quietly. They want others to see you differently too. They want to rewrite not just the story between you and them, but the way the world views you. And the more they succeed, the easier it becomes for them to justify their decision. But here's what I need you to remember. Subtle poison is a reflection of someone else's fear and insecurity. No to your worth. People poison the ground when they don't have the courage to face conflict honestly. They manipulate others' perceptions because they lack the integrity to speak truthfully. Your job is not to chase down every whisper or to prove yourself endlessly. Your job is to keep living with enough integrity, kindness, and strength that the poison eventually reveals itself for what it is: small, bitter, and rooted in someone else's brokenness. Because the truth is, poison may spread, but it cannot last. Over time, people see the difference between a story told about you and the life you actually live. And your life, your character, your light will always outshine someone else's shadows. One of the most heartbreaking things people do when they want you gone is that they turn your vulnerability into a weapon. Think about it. Vulnerability is sacred. It's the moment you open the door of your heart and say, this is me. This is the part of me I don't show everyone. This is where I'm tender, where I'm afraid, where I need to be seen. When you share your stories, your scars, your insecurities, it's not weakness, it's courage. Vulnerability is the foundation of connection. But when someone has already decided they no longer want you in their life, that courage becomes dangerous in their hands. Instead of honoring your openness, they use it against you. They take the very things you trusted them with and twist them. They bring up your mistakes not to understand them, but to shame you. They mention your fears not to comfort you, but to remind you of how small you sometimes feel. It's like handing someone the key to your heart, only to discover later they used it to unlock your deepest wounds. And what makes this tactic so painful is that it doesn't just feel like betrayal, it is betrayal. Because the person you thought was a safe space turns into the very reason you feel unsafe. And here's what usually happens inside of us. We start to regret ever opening up. We tell ourselves, I shouldn't have trusted them. I should have kept that part of me hidden. I should never. When people want you gone, sometimes they don't attack you directly and they don't even argue with you. Instead, they choose something far more painful. They pretend you don't exist. This is more than distance. It's more than withdrawal. It's erasure. They move through rooms you're in without acknowledging your presence. They speak to everyone around you but skip over your name. They post about moments you were a part of but somehow you're missing from the story. Slowly, they reduce you to nothing, not because you are nothing, but because ignoring you is easier than facing you. Being erased like this is one of the most devastating experiences a person can go through because as human beings, we are wired for belonging. We need to feel seen, to feel recognized, to feel like our presence matters. And when someone deliberately withholds that recognition, it's not just painful, it's dehumanizing. It whispers to you, you don't count, you were never important. And here's where it gets tricky. When you're treated like you don't exist, you start to question your own presence. You wonder, am I invisible? Do I really matter? Was I ever as significant as I thought? That's the toxic effect of erasure. It doesn't just make you feel left out, it makes you question whether you should have been included in the first place. But let me tell you something essential. You cannot erase someone's value by pretending they're invisible. Ignoring a person doesn't erase their story, their impact, or their truth. It only reveals the smallness of the person doing the ignoring. because it takes courage to face someone with honesty. It takes very little to look past them and pretend they're not there. When someone pretends you don't exist, they may think they're punishing you, but what they're really doing is revealing their own inability to hold complexity. They can't carry the weight of the relationship, so they drop it, not with grace, not with closure, but with silence. And here's what you need to remember. Your existence doesn't shrink because someone refuses to acknowledge it. You are still here. You are still worthy. You are still a force, even if they choose not to see it. Their blindness doesn't make you invisible. The last and perhaps the most painful sign that people want you gone is this: they celebrate your absence. It's one thing to feel someone pulling away, another to sense them ignoring your presence. But when they seem happier without you, that's a wound that cuts deep. You notice it in their laughter when you're not around, in the way their energy seems lighter after you leave, or in how they suddenly find joy in spaces where you used to stand beside them. It's as if your presence was a burden and your absence is the relief. This is brutal because it makes you question your very impact. You ask yourself, was I really that heavy? Did my presence truly weigh them down? Did I bring more pain than joy? Those questions linger like ghosts, making you feel like maybe your very existence is too much. But here's the thing: celebration of your absence is rarely about you. More often than not, it's about them. When people no longer want you in their lives, they create narratives that justify it. They frame your absence as freedom, as lightness, as better air to breathe. Why? Because it's easier to cheer for your exit than to face the discomfort of what they lost. It's easier to convince themselves they are thriving without you than to sit with the grief, guilt, or responsibility of the choice they made. And here's a deeper truth. Sometimes people celebrate your absence not because you were too heavy, but because your presence reminded them of something they couldn't face. Maybe your truth made them uncomfortable. Maybe your growth heightened their stagnation. Maybe your love demanded a level of honesty they weren't willing to give. In that case, your absence doesn't mean you were a burden. It means you were a mirror, and if some people feel lighter without it, that doesn't mean your presence is wrong. It just means they weren't the ones meant to carry it. The right people will never celebrate your absence. They will feel it. They will miss it. They will notice the emptiness you leave behind, not because you were heavy, but because you mattered. So if someone celebrates your absence, let that celebration be the confirmation you need. You were never supposed to shrink yourself just to make someone else feel lighter. Your presence is not a weight. It is light. And the right people will never cheer when that light walks out of the room. When people want you gone, they rarely announce it. Instead, they leave a trail of quiet behaviors, withdrawn presence, silenced voices, invisible walls, rewritten stories, subtle poison, exploited vulnerabilities, deliberate erasure, and even celebration of your absence. And if you're not careful, every one of these things can trick you into believing the lie that you are unworthy of love, belonging, or presence. But here's the truth. None of these behaviors define you. They only expose the limits of the people who choose them. Their distance doesn't mean you were too much. Their silence doesn't mean you were unimportant. Their rewriting doesn't erase what was real. Their poison doesn't diminish your character. Their betrayal of your vulnerability doesn't make you weak. Their erasure doesn't make you invisible. And their celebration of your absence doesn't mean you weren't a gift. All of it, every single tactic is about them, about what they can't face, about what they won't carry, about the love they aren't willing to give. So what do you do when people want you gone? You let them go, not because you don't care. Not because it doesn't hurt, but because you refuse to shrink yourself to fit into spaces where your worth is questioned. You walk forward, knowing that the right people, those with the courage to show up, to honor your voice, to hold your vulnerability with care, to celebrate your presence, are out there. Your job is not to fight for a seat at the wrong table. Your job is to keep your heart open for the places where your presence is not just tolerated but treasured. Because at the end of the day, the measure of your worth is not found in how others treat you when they want you gone. It's found in how you choose to stand whole and unashamed when you know you deserve to stay